Hi guys, this is just a quick little, well not a quick video, but this is a Heart of the Swarm beta video um, where I'm going to show you a little bit of kind of what a TvT might look like from the perspective of a Terran versus Terran in a Platinum-ish level. Okay, so a Platinum-ish level. I say Platinum-ish. I was ranked Platinum in Wings of Liberty, and then I kind of stopped playing for a month or two just because I was doing other things. I didn't have a whole lot of time. And so this is, I've just kind of come back now to do it in Heart of the Swarm, the beta, to do ones. I did team games in Wings of Liberty, but it's not, of course, nearly the same thing. So this is just kind of a TvT. This is one of my recent TvTs in the Heart of the Swarm beta. I'm not good by any means, but you know, if you're in gold level, platinum, maybe even if you're in diamond, these are some of the at least ideas, strategies that you might see, maybe. So in any case, I'm just opening with gas. I'm actually going for a very early double Rax Reaper build. I actually could have done this one supply earlier, but what you end up doing is getting your first barracks on 12, and then do not build an SCV on 12, and you go up to a second barracks before building your next SCV. Just kind of it's kind of cheesy, but it produces very early 3 Reapers, and 3 Reapers can one-shot a Marine. So if they go for a Marine light opening where they only have like a Marine or two, you can do a lot of damage. I do mess up in this game because I haven't done this build in a very long time, because it's not a very good build for team games. Like I said, I played a lot of team games, and I kind of don't get my orbital command for far too long.
Our SCVs are under attack.
But nevertheless, I do some things right. I have only 2 guys in gas, which is all you need. And whatnot. So you get your 2 tech labs.
Complete.
1 Reaper starts right away. And then as soon as that other tech lab, a second Reaper, and you go when you have 3 Reapers. So, just for the sake of let's see what my opponent is doing. Just for the sake of it, looks like he is going for some kind of early. He's getting double gas factory, so possibly Banshees. But of course, I don't know that. I want to show you as much as possible just from my point of view. So I have that 1 Reaper who's moving out. Of course, Reapers are... The reason I'm doing this is because in Heart of the Swarm, of course, the beta, Reapers now have extra speed from the get-go, and they also have that ability to see up cliffs. So I'm finally getting my
upgrade complete.
I might supply block myself, hopefully not. I'll put up the production tab for you guys. SCV ready. So as we can see, my opponent is going for siege tanks. Now I don't know that. I am going to be able to expand. So I made 4 Reapers just for the heck of it, but now I have 3 Reapers, and watch what I'm going to be able to do. I don't know if he's going for siege tanks. I'm going to leap up. I see those Marines, okay? I'm going to come over here and see that tech lab researching. I know now that he is making siege tanks. There's only one reason you have a siege, be able to also kill these SCVs in 1 hit. I see these Reapers do. And with the extra speed, I'm able to get out, and that Reaper's going to live. So what those Reapers did, I killed a couple of SCVs. How many workers did I kill? 5, which is pretty good. Not terrible. And we can see these Reapers going to regen health. But the main thing is they allowed me to scout. So right off the bat, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start producing Marauders, because he's doing like this. He wants to do a 1-base siege tank push, which can be very, very strong in TvT. I see right away I should jump back because of the battlefield awareness. These Reapers are going to last a very long time in this game. How long do Reapers usually last? You make a Reaper, you get a little bit of early scouting, it dies. These Reapers are going to be very useful for a long time. As I'm just trying to control them around, get into his base from different areas. So I'm producing a bunch of Marauders. And because what you need to do to hold off this one base siege tank push is you need to meet the siege tanks out in the middle of the map if you don't have siege tanks yourself. And now I see all the more he has siege tanks, but I see he's sieged up in his base. So I'm not all that worried. What I am going to do is position some Marauders out in the middle of the map.
Upgrade complete.
Because that way if the siege tanks try to walk across my base, you can catch them in the middle of the map, unsieged. And with Marauders, get them down. I'm going to split these up just, a little bit. And because I have these Reapers and I kind of saw him sieged up, I know he's a little bit worried about these Reapers coming back. So I'm doing something which I wouldn't normally do, which is I'm going to rally a lot of my units to the middle of the map, to a forward position. Normally I wouldn't do this. It's not normally a good idea. You want to have your units. You want to have your units near your home, and then rally out chunks of them, so that they're not going one at a time and getting intercepted, so that they're not, so that if you get a drop in your base, you can deal with it, that kind of thing. Unfortunately, I did use a supply drop. I was in platinum. Why? Mainly because of my execution. Like, I know kind of what I should do, but I misapplied details and things like that. So I had to use one. So now I'm getting siege tanks, but I have these Marauders in that position in the middle of the map. Spread out, so he shouldn't be able to move across those siege tanks without either taking damage or without taking damage, basically, or without me knowing and give me time to set up more defense back at home.
It's about to get heavy.
I'm going to start to get my siege tank production up, and I'm going to put the siege tanks at that forward position. I already have good map control, right? I don't have vision on the edges, which is kind of bad. It would be nice if I had that. That's kind of a big deal. But for the most part,
Add-on research
I'm in a
complete.
pretty good position. So I have production, I have siege tanks, I'm making Marauders. I could have been in trouble if a Banshee came. But I knew that was a little bit unlikely, so I didn't worry about Marines until later. And the reason I knew that was not likely is because when you go for that one base siege tank play, and I kept with those Reapers moving in and seeing how many siege tanks he had. He had a lot. And then I did a scan later, and I saw he had a lot. And you don't have the gas for Banshees, siege tanks, and all that stuff. I'm now going to use these Reapers, which are still alive. You see, he has a Viking moving about. I'm going to use these Reapers to patrol to just check, does he have a third base? What has he done? So these Reapers are going to continue to be very useful. Now, as I go ahead and ramp up on my barracks to ramp up on even more SCV production. Marine production. And I take my third base, which is maybe even a little early for TvT. Scan, see he's making a second factory, I think. But again, I have very good map control. I see no reason not to
Research
expand.
complete.
So these Reapers are going to find that there's no third base yet. And I'm just going to move them over to the fourth location and save them for a little bit later. So I'm trying to get all my upgrades, I might miss on combat field for quite a while in this game. But I do decide to go for a Marauder drop because of the fact that units move over and see that we have the siege position. He's trying to walk across the map and he can't. I am going to go ahead and make a marauder drop.
Ready to roll out.
As we do see, he's going to try to push in. And I do this drop.
I'm in deep.
I'm gonna, with these marauders, kill this temple and see if we can really go for a siege tank production. I'm just gonna try to be a little bit careful, hold this position, keep the units on their position. I'm gonna try to bring this back to the position. There's the free tanks. And then what I'm gonna go do is get out of there with these marauders with that medevac speed boost. See that? That's a new thing. You know, the drops is so much better. You're not going throwing things away. I also scan it, see he doesn't seem to have any anti-air, so I can just litter all these marauders up. And he does have some anti-air, so his medevacs just drop off these marauders. Speed boost away so the Vikings can't hit me. And look at how many siege tanks I take out. I take out like half of his siege
Mineral
tanks.
field depleted.
And I still have this nice position.
Mineral
Not knowing
field
exactly what I
depleted.
have, but he uses everything.
Upgrade
So
complete.
nice little battle in the middle of the map. As I go back in for another drop.
Out of this mess.
But I don't have the APM to control as much as I should. So I'm not paying enough attention to that, and that dies. But now in a good position. I mean, let's check the composition. Right now, he has 2 siege tanks, 26 marines. I have 4 siege tanks, 9 marauders, and 8 marines. And I'm up slightly in workers. So army supply is about even, a little edge to me. But I definitely have that edge in siege tanks, which is huge, against somebody who's trying to go for mainly siege tanks. And with all of his heavy emphasis on siege tanks, I have marauders. I'm going to now move in to try to take out what I assume must be a 3rd base location by this time.
We could use some help here.
Upgrade complete.
I think there was a guy standing there, or a widow mine, or something.
Ready for dust off.
I could check the replay, but I'm trying to show you what I saw.
Add-on.
As we
Somebody
do
get me
see
out of this mess.
some Vikings moving in, taking some shots on my medevacs. They might have gotten 1 or 2 of them. And I'll send 1 marauder in just to make sure that I'm in a good position. See, he doesn't have a very good spot. He's trying to get sieged up, so I rush in with everything and stim. Then I see he was able to get sieged up a little bit more, so I have to be very careful. Move back. I do have these siege tanks, but I really need to get out of there now because I did some nice damage. Took his marine count down. What's it at now?
Armed and ready.
He's at 22, but he would have had a lot more previously.
Oh, it's on.
I accidentally made a Hellbat. So he's actually up ahead in army right now. So that engagement was actually quite good for him. Other than the fact that what I did is put pressure on him. I still have this nice kind of forward position with all these siege tanks where I can siege up and defend. We're going to try to go for another drop. We'll see if it's successful at all.
Go, go, go.
Real hard time splitting
Add-on complete.
my army.
Let's have a blast.
Mineral field depleted.
It's about to get
There's a
heavy.
bunch of barracks out here in the middle of the map. They do a couple of things. I mean, it's just an easy place to put them. But they also do serve to kind of
Armed and
clog
go
things
time.
up if he's trying to rush through with a bunch of marines and whatnot. Forces him to take fire. You'll see that come into play. So what am I thinking right now as a Platinum Tyrant? Well, I'm thinking, well, I've done damage to him. I guess I didn't do as much as I thought. I'm gonna try to get in here with the speed boost past the turret, but he has a bunch of rifles and
Somebody
everything,
get
so
me
that's
out of
no
this
good.
mess. Ready for dust off.
So thinking, well, my drops aren't doing much of anything. As you see, I'm actually down in this game right now. Although, let's check the upgrade situation. He's on 1-0 for his bio, 0-1. I'm on 1-1 for bio, and I'm getting attacks for the units. I don't know why I decided to take that down there. I guess I'm trying to split the map kind of vertically, as opposed to horizontally or diagonally, but this base is not going to be in good shape. We have a nice little force out in the middle of the map here, Marines and Marauders. Why Marauders? He was really going for a lot of siege tanks, and I really wanted to
Base
take
is
that into
under attack.
consideration. He now moves in here, and you see that these barracks delay him, and they're going to give me a position where not only am I going to be able to push in with all these Marauders and all these Marines, but I'm going to be able to kind of flank him. He gets flanked a little bit by the siege tanks over on this side, and because I had so many Marauders, his high siege tank count was almost a liability more than anything. I'm still down in this game though, which is interesting. That's not how it felt to me. That's not how it felt to me when I was playing the game. Well, actually, when I was playing the game, as you can see, I am down in workers, and I'm down in units, down even in siege tanks right now. I don't even have any medevacs. It felt to me like I was not down, as now this base is going to be in trouble. So he's really putting a lot of pressure on me at this time.
Base is under attack. Upgrade complete.
So right now I feel under pressure. I'm trying to maintain this position with these siege tanks. I see him moving right here, so I'm a little bit concerned about that. I'm trying to save that base, but that's not going to happen. I'm going to use his widow mines for a little bit of scouting, and to just delay any pushes he has a little bit. Put these units on hold positions so they don't run into siege tank fire. I was feeling okay in this game, but now, of course, I do not have a fourth base. I see with my sensor tower that I set up his army moving around.
Ready for dust off.
I see it moving in and sieging up. I do try to move back and just hold position. Don't want these siege tanks to come in. The thing is, he always has a lot of siege tanks, but not a lot of Marines, and I think that's really his problem in this game. And he just, at this point, rushes in for almost no reason into this force of Marauders and siege tanks and things. And this is what really helps get me back in the game. A big mistake on his part. I guess what I'd say is his mistake is that in Marine Tank, your Marines are really the key.
Mineral field depleted.
Your tanks, as he gets these kind of caught in siege, which was a huge loss for him. In Marine Tank, your siege tanks are really, I mean, they do a lot of damage, but the Marines are kind of more important, sort of. They buffer for the siege tanks, keep the siege tanks safe. But usually what will end up happening is your siege tanks all die, and then you still have your Marines left over. So they'll be able to try to take out any third or fourth bases he might have. The thing is that he just doesn't have enough. He doesn't have enough tanks. I mean, he doesn't have enough Marines. He has so many siege tanks. He doesn't have the Marines to protect them. His Marines die very quickly. And he's going for like Viking tank Viking. This is a very old style, and it fell out of play. Like, nobody does tank Viking anymore. And one of the reasons nobody does tank Viking is, like I said, originally people used the Vikings to do vision for the siege tanks, and then the siege tanks could, you know, you have more Vikings than your opponent, you'd kill all his Vikings, and then you'd have vision for his siege tanks. The thing is, as now I've killed his base, I'm taking my own fourth.
Mineral field depleted.
I know he has some units in the middle of the map because of my sensor tower. He doesn't have, Marine Tank doesn't, what do you call it? Tank Viking just doesn't have the buffer for the siege tanks, so it's really easy to get in and kill those siege tanks with stim bio, with stim Marauders, stim Marines, and that's what's happening here. As I push it again, I see he has these siege tanks. I know he doesn't have very much at all. Now I know I kind of should probably pull back. Well, I still have quite a bit. I definitely should have sieged up sooner, and then I would have won the game right here, I think. As it stands, I don't quite win, but really hurting his forces. Taking out all his siege tanks, basically. He He has very few forces on the ground, but he has a lot of meta. No, I have a lot of meta. Caught up in workers.
Gangway, coming through. Let's
And you
have
can
a
see my
blast.
production is really kicking in too. I think I probably had better production than him. One of the big things is a lot of low-level towns don't have map build and doesn't necessarily have the same amount of production. And look at how many 3 factories for siege tanks, and he can only produce 5, 7 marines at a time. I can produce 2 siege tanks at a time and 11 marines at a time. So I believe that I did get the Caudicus reactor for the other medevac healing right away, and I'll move in on this planetary fortress and take that out.
About to get heavy.
Somebody, get me out of this mess.
Marauders and medevacs.
Mineral
Makes
field
my army
depleted.
stronger than his if all he has is siege tanks.
It's go time.
Plus, I'm pretty sure incredible upgrade advantage. 2-2.
Gangway.
We'll see what he has next time there's an engagement.
I'm indeed good.
Mineral
His
field depleted.
tanks are on 0-2. As I kill these siege tanks. He has 2 armor. His marines are on 2-2 as well. So the upgrade advantage is not what I thought. But I did have an upgrade advantage very early. Now my sensor tower shows me that you can see he's actually got some guys moving back and forth here. What does that mean? That means he has a base. So I know that I need to go ahead and take that out. What I could actually have done is, do those rocks lead to that location? They might.
Vespine
Maybe I should have
geyser
taken those rocks
exhausted.
down. Instead I go the long way.
Let's have a blast.
Mineral field depleted.
3rd factory is a little late. He's going to send this in, hopefully just to scout. I'm trying to build a sensor tower right here, so I can kind of see where his. I haven't really contained, sieged up right there, so I want to try to know where his army is. I send those few small forces in to deal with that base,
Mineral
and leave
field
most of them up here. I'm going to send this medevac in, use the speed boost to get it in, try to get away. I'm not able to get away. That is really cool, by the way the way that medevac fell down that cliff after it blew up. A lot of idle SCVs, which is bad, but I'm getting my other bases established. I'm pulling back because I'm feeling like he has somewhat of a strong position. I want to go back to kind of a place where I can be just all together, you know, and strong. He's trying to set up a position, but he just has these naked siege tanks. And it's really easy to just stim in and get these naked siege tanks. He's attacking with a almost dead Viking, so I can just kill it with my SCVs. I accidentally have SCZVs in my army. That's another mistake I make rather frequently. And look at this. I see this tiny paltry force unsieged. 1 siege tank. And I can just easily move in
add-on complete.
with what I have and kill that.
It's on.
And so the thing about this game is that from the get-go, with the new Heart of the Swarm Marauders, okay, I mean Reapers, I was able to scout, and I was able to see what is he doing. And from the get-go, even though he kind of got ahead in some ways, I was able to just always know. At first because of the Reapers, SCGGs because I move in, he tried to take the space, and I sent a force down here. So why did I win that game? Let's go back to the very beginning with my Reapers. Those 2 Reapers early. It didn't need to be that kind of early, cheesy kind of Reaper play. It's not even that cheesy, but with those 2 Reapers, I knew what he was doing. And because I knew what he was doing, I was able to get my army composition correct, and I was able to get my army up in a forward position to kind of hold that map control. And then because I had that, and because I continued to use the Reapers to scout, I had very good scouting information. So even though His engagements were slightly better at times. Even though I took a bad engagement here or there, I always had the better army composition because I always knew what he was doing. And that's an enormous advantage that those Reapers gave me. So, that's all there is to that, really. But that's a game from a Platinum-ish Terran perspective. I hope this was interesting and helpful. Good luck.